we lose our value. And
Yeah.
I just really, there's a defiant part of me that I first need to value myself and then go from there.
Yeah.
Value other older people and have intergenerational relationships. Have relationships with people of all ages.
Yeah.
Because I feel like that is part of what does away with ageism.
Judith, it's so lovely to meet you here on Zoom.
Yes, it's wonderful to meet you too. You're in Vienna?
Yes.
Oh,
and you are in Denver.
Denver, Colorado. Yes. Uh-huh.
So, Judith, I saw you on Instagram and I was just so fascinated about what you do with your hats.
Oh, thank you. I don't have one on today. It's Sunday and Caftan Sunday.
Oh, so. Okay. Where did this idea come from?
My hats?
Yes.
Well, in the 70s, I'm 80. So in the 70s, I was in my 30s. And I started wearing vintage hats. I was really into vintage and estate sales and vintage shops. And I started wearing hats. And I worked in mental health, but as a psychiatric nurse. And I wore street clothes, not uniforms. And sometimes I would wear them to work, and the patients loved them. And then I opened a hat shop in the 80s. And so for 4 years, I had a hat shop here in Denver. And so ever since then, I just really do love hats. And I have a hat room where I store my hats in my house.
So how many hats do you own?
I have no idea. Idea. Hundreds.
But in the 70s, we used to wear hats more often, I would say. I mean, I remember as a child, I had hats.
Well, I had hats as a child, I guess just for Easter, mostly. Yeah. But our hat shop, it was really hard to make it profitable because, I mean, if it would have been in another city, maybe on the coast, either East or West Coast, maybe East Coast. But we found our primary markets here in Denver, and it changed me. And we would go to New York to buy, and that was always interesting. And I just learned so much about hats, and my taste changed over the years. And it's always changing. But at this point, for me to purchase a hat, it has to be really unusual, and I have to love it because I have so many.
Oh, yeah, of course. And do you now always, or let me say, do you previously, when you bought, say, a dress, did you always think of, okay, there has to be a hat with this?
Oh, you mean now?
Well, for previously, when you said you had this interest in vintage hats, did you also then started dressing that way so that the hat would fit the outfit?
Yes, I would buy vintage, and I always managed to combine them in some way. Okay. I wore vintage in the 70s, and I was mostly into the 40s then, which now it's like the 40s and the 70s, like that's 30 years. And so now people are younger people are into like the 80s and 90s.
Yeah.
Which is the same span. But I would wear vintage dresses to work, and sometimes oversized and belted with boots. And nobody else dressed like that, but I felt like it was more interesting than retail, and it was less expensive.
Oh, yeah.
Uh, so I was okay with being different. It didn't really bother me. And now, as I look back, I was participating in sustainability since the 70s.
Yeah,
And I
really.
still am. So,
But I
yes.
see your outfits and they are just, you've got such a great style.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. So and you've just always had that naturally.
Um, I didn't, my education was in healthcare. So it was
Yeah.
just something I always did on the side. And it also, because many times when I would go to work, I would be talking with with people that are in crisis. And so it kind of set the tone for the day. And it was like a meditation to get ready for work. And it was like participating in art for me when, I think creating relationships with people who are having serious mental health issues is also an art.
Yeah.
Um, Relationships are an art as well.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. And it just shows you also the attention that you said that the patients were very interested in the hats. So that was also probably a change of focus then, and it shows that we are naturally drawn to that, naturally drawn to beauty and to beautiful things.
Well, management didn't always agree with with my
Oh, I
wearing.
see.
And in fact, I changed jobs one time because I received feedback that wasn't positive, and as a nurse, I could find a job
Mhm.
easily, and so that many people wouldn't be able to do that. I understand it's kind of an occupation where I can always find where I could. I am not doing that now, but where I could always find another job. So I could, quit my job if I didn't want to stay there.
Yeah. But Judith, how did this Instagram page start? Why, how
Um,
did you, because you do fantastic things there.
well, actually, in 2010, I started a blog. I don't know if you know this history or
No,
not.
I don't.
Okay, I started a blog in 2010. My husband had been diagnosed with cancer in 2005, a very rare cancer. And we did everything we could to prolong his life. He was the healthiest person I knew, so it was very shocking. And in 2010, he had gone into remission, and then he had a recurrence, and he was going to have chemo for the rest of his life as long as he could tolerate it. So I loved to put together outfits, and had a lot of vintage and consignment and thrift shop pieces. So he became my photographer, and which he had never done before. And so I started this blog, and I had no idea what I was doing, and sometimes I still don't. But anyway, I had a special series, What to Wear to Chemo. So I would get dressed up, and then he would take my photo in the exam room before he received his chemo.
Really? Yeah.
And so I found this like amazing support system out there that I would not have otherwise had. And then I blogged through cancer caregiving and his death and grief. And then my transformation into moving forward. So Nelson, my husband, I feel that he's still with me in terms of this was the gift that he gave to me to kind of, um, propel me forward in the midst of the largest loss of my life and most difficult time in my life. So,
But isn't it amazing that in the midst of this sad time or this terrible tragedy, that
mhm.
you found something like this, that you found something beautiful to do and to not uplift just yourself, but also others, I assume.
Well, I don't think anybody else was blogging about outfits and death at the time. So, but I found it a way to, like on my blog dashboard, at the moment I was feeling a certain way, I could just write it down. And then I could go back and edit it so that I could put it out there. And it was very therapeutic for me. I would just say exactly what was going on, and in the midst of how I was feeling. And because I was a psych nurse, I was really used to talking about feelings. So I feel like it prepared me to, I felt comfortable talking about the intensity of my experience, but I could edit it so that it could be received. And I still have friends from those early days that were bloggers as well. And I found Advanced Style. I'm sure you know about Ari Seth Cohen. In 2010, he was in New York, and my daughter Camille lived there. She was a dancer. And so I met him in 2010, and he was always so generous and kind in terms of sharing some of what I was doing. And then I started my Instagram years later. I don't I can't remember what year I started that, like 2013 or something like that. And then I started TikTok about a year ago.
Really?
So,
amazing.
So that's kind of the history of where Style Crone came from.
But you look so young, and this should really not be, this should really not even be a conversation, but you look so young. You said you are 80.
Yes, I turned 80 in March, and it's very different than turning 70. I don't know how old you are.
I'm 58.
Yes. So I'm old enough to be your mother, basically.
Yes.
But that's one of the things that I talk about on my Instagram is aging and ageism. And I feel my health is my most important issue or priority. Because without health, it's very difficult to do whatever you want to do. I certainly saw that, and I see it today. I have many friends who I've lost over the years. And so the most important thing for me is taking care of myself. And I'm a yogi. I love yoga. And then I meditate. I build my life around the structure of my health. And
that's amazing.
I talk about it on my Instagram sometimes. I talk about ageism in terms of there are so many myths out there. And so that's part of what is important to me.
Yeah, but I think the same, I think I looked at you and I looked at your pictures and I think stunning woman, your energy, your whole, everything about you. And it's such a myth that you think, we think, well, if you say retire at 60 or 65, then what is there? And you've just proved now that you can go on and just do these fabulous things. I mean, this is amazing. The movement, the movements, I see you do these movements and these dances and things with your hats. It's so amazing.
Oh, thank you. I feel like part of I don't like the word retirement. It sounds like you're just gonna, what is life?
Yeah.
I think a transition is a better word because I was still working part-time as a nurse right before my husband died. And then I quit because I didn't want to miss any of the time with him. And I was just working a couple of days a week at that point. So, and for me, I don't want, I want to, of course, I want to be um, the best as I can and as healthy as I can. I, I, I certainly understand and support how anyone decides to age. It's a personal decision. But I've chosen not to have any interventions in terms of surgery and injections or Botox or anything. Just because, well, first of all, it's expensive, and
Yeah.
I want to. I like to travel. There's things that are more important to me. And so I feel like there's room for whatever we choose to do as we age. That's been my decision.
But isn't it so so sad really that there are so much pressure on us to not age,
No, we
you know
lose
and,
our value. We lose our value, and
yeah.
I just really. There's a defiant part of me that I first need to value myself, and then go from there.
Yeah.
Value other older people and have intergenerational relationships.
Mhm.
Have relationships with people of all ages,
Yeah.
because I feel like that is part of what does away with ageism.
Yeah, that's true. But now what is the future now for you? What is the dream still for you? Because you've got so many hats, you've got so much energy and so many beautiful, so wonderful way of looking at life. I really admire you so much. But what's there still for you, the dream?
Oh, I guess I really haven't had goals. Particularly, it's important for me to always keep learning because things change all the time on social media platforms.
Oh
You
yeah.
know, never ever. Uh, so that's good for my brain to learn. It's like learning another language, and that I think every time I post, it's like a political act in terms of um, ageism and in terms of sustainability. I really have been into the climate change movement. And so I feel that what I put out there, um, every time I post, it's a political act, and that is energizing to me.
But you live it. I mean, you are the proof of what you're saying. When you say something like that, you are really the proof because you do it, you live it.
Right. I try to put forward what is true for me.
Yeah.
And as I said, turning 80 was much different than 70. 70 was like tra la la, really. And
Really?
yeah, it was. I had a huge party in my house. I love to dance. I had a huge party. That was pre-pandemic. Uh, um, but turning 80, it's definitely the final act of life because obviously people live to be over 100. I don't know, everything is unpredictable and I have no idea how long I'll live. But to turn 80, then, of course I think, oh, it's important for me to do what I want to do
Yeah.
because who knows how many years I have? Who
Mhm.
knows if I'll be 90? So I try to incorporate that into what I do to um, be aware of the gift of time that I have and try to enjoy my days, because who knows? And I think it's important to, I'm comfortable talking about death because of what happened with my husband, Nelson. And we talked about death all the time as he was approaching that. So it's kind of like taboo in our culture. But there's so many similarities to death and birth, because birth is unpredictable. It's kind of messy. And then death is unpredictable, and it's like, who knows what it's going to look like.
Yeah. Well, I hope to get also an insight from you what it's like to be 90.
Yes, I do. Actually, I haven't found very many women on Instagram that are 90, that are in the style arena. But there's some on TikTok that are in their 90s, and they're hysterical. But their platform, it's either a child or a grandchild that's helping them. But it's very fun to follow them because they're so they're characters. They're very interesting and funny, and I mean, they have millions of followers.
Really?
Yeah. I didn't know that until I, started becoming more familiar with that platform. It's not all young people.
Amazing. But I think the older we get, the more we just relax about things, and just do and be ourselves and do the things that we want to do.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
And it's almost like I feel like Ari Seth Cohen has changed with his advanced style movement. I feel like it's helped to change the perception of older people in our culture. And definitely it had an impact on me, because, you get to see all of these people, and he travels and goes to different countries and so on, that there are many people that are vibrant and still interested in dressing up. And it's so reassuring. And it kind of gives us all permission to just be who we are.
Yeah.
Why not? And not everybody's going to like it.
Yeah.
But they're not going to like it anyway. So, no matter what you do, there's always going to be people that are.
Exactly. Yeah. But Judith, you are my great inspiration, really.
Oh, thank you, Sasha. That's kind of you to say.
I know. Honestly, I think your style, your way of thinking, it's amazing, and I think it's really lovely to see that you still, you dress up, you do all I see on your pictures, you go through a lot of trouble to really style yourself so beautifully. It's really an inspiration.
Oh, thank you. It's something that I love to do, and sometimes it gets kind of chaotic in my upstairs area because. And behind me, this is a scarf installation.
Yeah, I was wondering what that is. All your scarves as well.
Well, my summer scarves, and I found these mostly at estate sales, so they're vintage. Yeah. And most of them are vintage and silk. And this way I don't have to feel guilty about having so many scarves, because it's like art.
Yes. Yeah. It's such a great idea.
Yeah, so I see it every day. I see my scarf collection, and if I'm looking for a scarf to wear, I can just bring in the item or the garment, and then just find a perfect match.
Yeah. Well, this is a great idea. All my scarves are in a drawer, but I think they have to come out.
You might not have thousands, though.
No, I don't. Oh, Judith, this was so lovely talking to you. Thank you so much for your time and for all these wise words. And I'm sure following you still, it's so amazing to see what you come up with.
Oh, thank you. And I'm going to make sure that I think I love your style. And it's really interesting to talk to somebody from Vienna. I never have.
Really? Oh, I see. Well, you have to come and visit.
I would love to. I've heard so many wonderful
Yeah,
things about Vienna.
yeah. No, it's a beautiful city. But let me know when you're in Vienna. We can go and have a coffee in
Okay.
one of the great coffee houses here.
One of the great what?
Coffee houses here in Vienna.
Oh, well,
Yeah.
I'll have to put that on my wish list.
You have to do that, and I will for sure have to dress up when I'm coming with you for a coffee.
Okay, sounds wonderful. And you're always welcome in Denver.
Thank you so much. No, I will definitely, whenever I've never been to America, but whenever I come, I will definitely write and tell you because I would love to see your hats, your whole
Yes,
collection.
I would show you. I would give you a tour.
Okay. Thank you, Judith. Have a lovely afternoon.
It was very uplifting.
Thank you very much. Bye.